Autumn has arrived and nature is already preparing for the colder weather. Just like trees and other plants are ridding themselves of old leaves that won't serve them much more in the future, I am also preparing myself for the new times that are yet to come by. Welcome! My name is Natalie and I study culture anthropology and art history at university, and I love to learn scientific and ethnological approaches to my passion, which is fashion history. But I noticed that the status quo won't last forever, and I have to prepare for my future beyond what I know and what I have done so far. Sometimes I am really stressed out by thoughts that make me think or panic what I should do or what place I want to end up in after I finish my studies. But instead of panicking and letting my anxieties take the better of me, let me tell you how I cope with uncertainty and stress in the face of change. My studies are coming to an end very soon, and I am confronted yet again with the question, what should I do now? Where do I want to be in the next year? Because of a lot of work experience in administration, offices and event management, I have the qualities and also connections to just apply for jobs in my area to work in an office or some sort of management. But even though it is not bad in any way, the more I worked in those fields, the more I felt like I wanted to do something else. That I want to write, to create, and to inspire. I have dreams about working scientifically as fashion historian, but also practically as a trained tailoress. For that reason, I have recently applied to a costuming atelier close to my area that occasionally takes apprentices and where I have absolved an internship already. I stood in awe of the tailor master's work and expertise, and also they were very nice. During that internship, I started a new project. I thought about making a pair of trousers in a more tailored way. I wanted to know how those tailors would adjust the pattern, so I worked a lot on that during my time there. And I have started to cut out the fabric under supervision of one of the men's tailor masters. It is not very easy to wrap my head around the techniques they used, even though I am familiar with most of them, in theory. They made some small changes that come naturally to them, but that I have to decipher and work in my own way as I finish the project at home. And while I work on the trousers, I realize that I don't know when I will finish them or if I like the outcome once I do. I see the process as more important in this instance, and I want to take my time to make it right instead of quick. I really want to learn from the tailor masters, but if it won't work out, I will try to learn as much as I can on my own and continue my journey in culture anthropology even further. Those skilled craftsmen and women will be my idols, and I want to become at least nearly as good in tailoring one day. I think it is important to find someone or a group of people to look up to, someone whose skills inspire you to improve, in order not to feel lost at some point. Instead of letting myself be distraught and lose confidence in my own skills, I think to myself, the only way to do better is to try, and not to give up before that first step. Learning to redirect anxious energy is not easy, but once I learned it is essentially energy that could be made into something else, I started to think less about things that may or may not happen, and focus on the few things that I can change right now. Learn a new skill, talk to that person of authority, join an inspiring network, go for a walk and get inspired. I try to let new things come and to let go of other things that do me no favor. As I was thinking about autumn and what matters the most, things that I want to keep and things that I want to rid myself of, and what takes away precious energy or physical space that I need, I decided to use some old fabric scraps from previous projects to make something out of them that makes me happy. Or as my mother would have said, mach das Beste draus, which translates to make the best out of something. So, with some old linen and my small fabric scraps that I would not be able to use anywhere else, I wanted to sew a big stuffed fabric goose that keeps me company in my home. Maybe I will make some accessories like hats or capes for it in the future, but for now it is just a neat and lovely goose. By the way, I digitized the pattern and put it on my Patreon page. If you'd like to make one for yourself, I leave the link to it in the description box. I would love to see fabric waste to be used or not thrown away to end up in landfills, if it can still serve a purpose. For the outer layer, I used an old linen fabric that I inherited from distant family members. It happens sometimes that I get fabric or old clothes. Because of my closer relations, I'm the only one actively sewing and crafting with textiles. Since linen fabric is genuinely beautiful, despite some optical flaws of its history as table sheets or bed linens, they are rather heavy and I cannot use them for clothing, which I would usually prefer doing. So it stayed in my stash for a while and I could not think of a better use for it. Until now, I thought recently, if I am to make the best out of something, it means I should use the resources at hand as best as I can instead of buying new things. This project helped me gain more confidence in myself, since it is very simple and quick to make.
Alright, it's the next day. Well, kind of the next day. I have been to university yesterday, so it's actually the day after the second day. But it's the second day when I'm working on my goose project, and so far I've already sewn together the pieces. As you can see, I think it's really nice. It has a goose shape, but it's still a little bit lumpy, which is fine because I didn't trim the edges yet. I just wanted to turn it around and see what shape it has, if it's nice or if there's something wrong with my stitching, or if I maybe overlapped something too much or something. And actually I'm very happy with how it turned out. I'm also very happy that I have added like a sitting area for my goose, that it can actually sit down and not just slop down one way or the other. I think this will increase the stability. And I will just turn it around again and trim off the excess edges, like the seam allowance, and clip the edges, of course, to make it a bit more smooth and nice. Also do that with the feet and the wings. And I will just turn them around and fill them with a normal wadding, because I don't want, for one part, the wings or the feet to be too heavy, and also the possibility to stitch through the wadding to make either, for example, like the bone structures of the feet a little bit more visible, or also maybe even add a little definition on the wing on the outside, so that there's kind of like a top stitching to make it look more like a wing and less like a wedge.
While I am working on my project and thinking about my future, I am realizing my tendency to think about the second step before the first and getting overwhelmed in the process. That is why I have learned to use my connection with nature as an outlet and challenge to focus on what is right before me. I want to ground myself by taking deep breaths and trying not to freak out about things that haven't even happened yet, and might never happen anyway. Instead, I want to use that excess energy to channel into focus and the ability to observe opportunities and ideas that might come up as I continue. To help me focus on my goals, I like to collect herbs and some plants and either preserve them by drying or also by pressing them for my grimoire. Today I will prepare incense that should help me gain more confidence and calm focus for my future. If you would like to use the recipe for yourself, please check out my Patreon page where I put it up for free. Thank you for being here and listening. I hope to upload more frequently, even though I am still figuring out my work rhythm and style of the videos that I make. I would love to hear from you again in the comments or in the next video, where I will slowly start with more exciting projects next to my studies. So if you'd like to tag along, feel free to subscribe to my channel. Until then, I wish you all the best and that you can focus on what matters most to you at the moment. Goodbye.